Policies Against Progress. Welcome to Law and Society. Please subscribe. And today is going to be a quick survey of where we are under Donald Trump's regressive policies. Every single one of Donald Trump's policies disfavor American progress. Whether it be education or immigration, they undercut and undermine public welfare and national security. Damage Donald inflicts on America and the world will be seen in the coming months and years. Its impact we will feel for generations. Something broke, though not irreparably, but definitely significantly. Donald Trump has broken with norms and traditions that held together our country and the world order that rose from the ashes of World War II. Now we find ourselves in uncharted waters. What role do we play in the world now that Donald has completely ruined America's goodwill and soft power? Where does America stand economically? What will happen to the neediest among us who use federal programs to make ends meet? Destruction of U.S. aid and gutting Voice of America, speaking internationally, has directly and indirectly killed thousands, experts estimate. Donald Trump's regime took away from the neediest in the world basic life-saving food and medicine. He withdrew from the World Health Organization. He withdrew from the climate agreement again. With these impetuous moves, Donald distanced America from the world, isolating us from our allies and partners. And then there are the trade wars and tariffs as well. He just cut his G7 meeting short. As to why, he says, stay tuned, and has apparently nothing to do with the hot international topic that's going on right now, which is this 4-day ongoing hostilities between Israel and Iran. He recently declared immigration bans from several countries, including those seeking refugee status from Afghanistan. Donald's regime is even deporting and canceling special refugee visas from Afghan refugees. These people helped American troops during our war in their country. They fought for us and against the Taliban. If they are deported from the United States and sent back to Afghanistan, they will be killed. It would be one of the many of Donald's betrayals. And speaking of war and betrayals, Donald's regime is also cutting veterans' benefits programs, cutting funding for the VA, and making massive cuts to the federal workforce, 30% of whom are veterans. These mass firings have stunned our federal government. While Donald's regime tries to rehire many they summarily fired, it is becoming clear how incompetent his underlings are. DOGE failed at its mission of cutting waste and became the waste itself. As he betrays veterans on one hand, Donald made our army conduct a military parade in D.C. on June 14th. Pitched as a celebration for the 250th anniversary of the Army, it was clear that Donald wanted to celebrate his birthday, which was on the same day, with this parade. The Army even gifted Donald a flag, and the crowd sang him happy birthday. Despite using the military as his own prop to show power, Donald sabotages the military every chance he gets. From transgender bans to denial of benefits on the basis of political affiliation and marital status. Perhaps the most destructive of Donald's betrayals are his attacks on institutions of democracy. Donald uses his words to divide Americans and target political opponents unlike any other president in American history. He tacitly permits violence that favors him, and punishes protesting that exposes his crimes, corruptions, and ignoble ambitions. Under his control, MAGA has neutered Congress's powers. Donald has commandeered congressional powers and encroached on legislative authority by ruling through executive orders and proclamations. He has exploited and misapplied legislations from centuries ago, whether that be to manipulate tariffs or to illegally remove and detain residents of the United States without due process of law. He has openly said that he won't listen to court orders from lower courts. He said he will only listen to the Supreme Court. But even that is not certain, as he continues to attack the judiciary as a whole. Donald tried to change election procedures through executive orders. Congress gives presidents absolutely no power in matters of elections. Those powers are vested in states and Congress. But that is not the impression he gives. He rules by proclamations and executive orders that are facially unconstitutional and or illegal. And in most instances, the emergencies he claims to be combating do not exist. Meaning, he bases his fiat rule on lies. Lies that have radicalized people, who have then carried out political violence in his name, or at least in the name of his causes. From Charlottesville to January 6th, to Paul Pelosi, to Speaker Emerita of Minnesota, Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark, to Minnesota Senate Leader John Hoffman and his wife Yvette, to the judges Donald targets. Donald Trump's attacks on Democrats and liberalism plays a big part in inciting violence. The blood spilled in these attacks and assassinations are all on Donald's hands. Birthright citizenship case that is now currently with SCOTUS remains to be seen what the ruling is going to be. They will likely just rule on the procedural issue that's been brought up on appeal. But Donald may even turn that procedural win into an all-out win on substance. He may even ramp up illegal removal of birthright Americans along with their undocumented family members by completely misreading intentionally the ruling and undermining the citizenship clause. Don't forget that Donald Trump was advised by his people that apparently the Abrego Garcia case that the Supreme Court ruled on was in their favor. When the court said that everybody is to be afforded the due process of law and the government has to facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia. They finally brought Abrego Garcia back though, but not through Judge Yinis's orders, but by saying that Abrego Garcia faces other charges in Tennessee for human trafficking. And now they're pursuing that criminal charge against Mr. Garcia in Tennessee. Among the ugliest of Donald's policies are his immigration and law enforcement proclamations and executive orders. Donald Trump issued 2 executive orders on April 28th that outline the police state we currently see unfolding throughout the country. From Abrego Garcia to over 200 U.S. residents illegally removed to El Salvador, to Andrew Romero, to American citizen children removed from the United States with their undocumented parents, to the countless DHS is holding in ICE detention facilities throughout the country, Donald's illegal ICE raids have torn families apart and thrown countless lives into chaos. In an online rant, Donald openly declared that his immigration enforcement agents would target cities governed by Democrats. All of Donald's illegal raids so far have targeted urban areas that are largely Democratic. Putting partisanship in public view does not change the corrupt nature of such selective enforcement of illegal and overreaching executive orders. Just because Donald Trump does something corrupt or illegal or unconstitutional in public doesn't make it all right. That is the impression he wants to give by saying, oh, look, I'm doing it out in the open, so it must be okay. But no, it is not. To go after and specifically disfavor one group over the other. Second only to his attacks on democracy is Donald's war on America's economy. He has torn old rules to shreds, imposed tariffs on most of the world, paused tariffs on a whim, manipulated the stock market, and shocked farmers and small businesses throughout the country. His MAGA party desperately wants to pass a big, beautiful bill that will take money from the poorest and give to the richest. That's not populism he promised during the campaign. That's oligarchy. Commerce in America and with America is a mess. And while Donald's tariffs and trade wars have yet to cause a significant impact on consumer prices and supply chains, that impact will come in short order. Things will start costing a lot more. Inflation will not go down, even if we get temporary reprieves. From farms to the stock market, Donald's unpredictable actions have brought uncertainty. Agricultural markets are stunned because of Donald's indiscriminate immigration removals. Farmers don't know what to do with upgrades they've made to their farms because they haven't been paid for it by the government like it said it would. Rural schools have less nutritious food options because of canceled farm-school collaborations where farmers supplied schools with fresh produce. Millions of Americans now fear losing their SNAP benefits, which is food stamps, as well as basic health care through Medicaid. Social Security is under threat. Reducing funding for these three basic social benefit programs will upend millions of lives. And that is what MAGA intends to do with their big, beautiful bill. From a certain perspective, all of these makes complete sense. Donald Trump is a domestic enemy. The MAGA party is an opportunistic infection plaguing our republic. They have done more damage to America and its interests than any foreign enemy ever could. Donald poses a direct threat to our constitutional order. He wants to rule by fiat and consensus without regard to legislative intent, legislative power, judicial interpretation, or judicial review. He wants to break our constitutional order and weaken our union with disparate politics and lies. He believes he has a mandate from all Americans to become a dictator. And only Americans can prove him wrong. In truth, only about a third of Americans eligible to vote voted for him. The other third voted for Kamala Harris. And the last third did not vote. Donald did not get even 50% of the votes cast. That is hardly a mandate. And if there were a mandate, it was to reduce the cost of living, a promise Donald has explicitly broken on more than one occasion. Now people are coming onto the streets and protesting Donald Trump's policies and dictatorial ambitions. Only through this massive popular non-violent movement can we stop Donald Trump's tyranny. Only through continued resistance can we force Donald Trump and MAGA to stop destroying America from within. To that ends, the No Kings protest must continue and become a national movement. Protests must continue as long as needed, wherever and whenever they are needed, no matter how tired we get. We must each do whatever we can do to move this movement forward, peacefully. Remind the world peacefully, creatively, proudly, and joyfully that in America we have no kings. The country belongs to we the people. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.